Voice, your vision is.
Community conversation with authenticity.
Voice, your vision is. The voices of the people. My values and beliefs should not be the determinants in how you treat me. My options and preferences should always be considered and respected. Informed decisions must be made by what I say and by who listens. My culture and concerns does not confirm your findings. There are deeper layers to learn. Empowerment and equality is what we must embrace and eliminate the hateful practices leading to disparities in our society. I have a voice. So tell me, what has been done to transform the vision carried inside the voice into a reality?
We have learned the groups that are most likely at risk are
racial and ethnic populations with respect to access, language, and culture,
rural residents,
women, children, and senior citizens,
people with disabilities,
lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals,
and individuals and families experiencing mental illness. And we have learned that other factors contribute to poor health, such as our personal health behavior,
the environment in which we live,
whether we have access to affordable, accessible, and acceptable health care,
safe and affordable housing,
good education, and supportive social networks,
how much money, personnel, and other resources are made available for the development of strong and sustainable communities.
All across the country, there is a recognition that a critical component in improving health for all is the voice and involvement of community residents, and models are being developed to demonstrate the effectiveness of this approach.
The key principle is that community priorities and action plans must be determined by the community, by the people impacted by health inequality, while the governmental agencies and service organizations serve as allies to a bottom-up process.
I'm not feeling well. My health is withering away. My sunny days got overcasted, now my casket is gray. I'm not feeling well. My hepatitis C AIDS, after HIV/AIDS, the path that laid me in the early grave. I'm not feeling well. My health is counting on my cells, but my cells are like behind cells, disease jails. And as a black male, sometimes I feel blackmailed to trail behind in despair. Low income, no health care.
I think mental health and emotional health are key to how we go about making our decisions, and it drives how we behave to some degree. So I think that's very important.
I feel a lot of times that the faith-based community is really responsive, reactive instead of proactive. And one event that really comes to my mind was when the shooting happened on Genesee Street. The next day, I seen a lot of faith-based people out praying and really empowering the young people and being there for the young people and helping them. But I always wondered in the back of my mind, where were you guys before now?
There are kind of mini silos, if you will. There are those that will take to the streets early morning, that will pray early morning. There are those that will come out in the evening and interact, but it's not as prevalent and it's not as a unified front as a community of churches versus my church and your church.
Transportation was a huge issue for a lot of seniors. That was a chronic problem. And I think it's a huge problem across the community.
Well, if it's anybody that you should be comfortable with, it is your doctor, because that's your health. Like, you have to know about you, especially when your doctor knew you for your whole life. My doctor better know me like the back of my hand. You knew me since I was little.
I am going to get a petition out to raise a higher standard of the toilet seats, especially in your bathrooms. They're supposed to have the bars there in order to help you raise up and sit down and everything like that. But they're not accommodating to a wheelchair, and the toilet seats are too low.
The event was filled with much positive energy generated from the volunteers and community members. The environment was pleasant and comfortable. Critical information was collected, and important lessons were learned. The Voice Your Vision Rochester experience demonstrated to the community how to create an atmosphere where people felt welcomed and motivated to participate in their own way.
From a delicious breakfast and refreshments, steel drum music greeting the guests, the creation of a safe space, a group exercise routine, powerful local speakers offering their journey as community champions and caregivers, captivating poetry, free haircuts, friendly and robust small table conversations, to the simple act throughout the day of neighbors greeting neighbors. This even felt less like a meeting and more like a neighborhood gathering.
Community dialogue commenced with several table topics in which attendees selected where they wanted to contribute and had the opportunity to move freely about the room.
Voice Your Vision has been designated as a safe space, a place where all voices hold value and all perspectives are seen as valid. Below, you will find a few house rules to help maintain the integrity and safety of this space. There will be absolutely no racism, no sexism, no homophobia, no transphobia, no fat phobia, no ableism, no ageism, and no hate.
We cannot continue to be program rich and results poor.
I agree with the personal responsibility thing. That begins at home. Unfortunately, so many of us missed it at home.
There's with the black male, a mistrust of systems in general, whether it be medical, law enforcement, and these things, because historically there was more of a village feel to it.
With women, it starts early for them. Like, that's not a, you know what I mean? Men, a colonoscopy, you know what that's like 55.
If I'm getting the message, every place I lay my head or plant my feet, sooner or later it's going to have an impact.
We live in two cities here in Buffalo. There are two cities, and I like to see, before I die, one Buffalo.
They're not very caring, not very giving, very unprofessional.
Okay, I done had 3 surgeries on one hernia, and I told the intern, do not press down on that hernia. He pressed down on that hernia. It was so hard, it blocked my bowel.
So sometimes it's hard when you have a steady condition and you can't get in to see the doctors that you need because they're backed up.
The long-term care seemed lacking planning, persistence, and the right actions taken to recover from the injury. So, it took 4 months just to see somebody.
following questions provided the framework for the table discussions.
What do you see as the healthcare challenges facing your community?
What would your community look like if you had everything you wanted?
What assets does your community have that can help make your community better?
Who are the stakeholders for accountability?
Remember, healthcare providers often do not live in the communities in which they work.
If you had everything you needed, how would you know if your interventions were successful?
By learning what the problems are and what may be needed to strengthen, empower, and sustain communities, and ultimately improve health outcomes, we have a better understanding on how to develop policies, allocate resources, and support an infrastructure that works best for communities across the state. Findings compiled by the Council will be used to develop a report of recommendations to be presented to the Commissioner with the intent to shape core guiding principles for the Department to develop and/or implement health policies, strategies, programs, and activities across culturally, linguistically, and racially diverse and multi-ethnic communities.